Yes, NIE and LTTS are proudly backed to present the third edition of Illuminate.
Illuminate 3, the public forum celebrating engineering excellence and innovation. A hearty welcome to one and all of you. This exciting joint venture brings together the strengths of two leading institutions, L&T Technology Services LTTS, one of the world's leading engineering and technology service providers with operations in over 25 countries, and the National Institute of Engineering NIE, one of India's top and prestigious engineering colleges with a reputation for excellent faculty, strong infrastructure, and a notable alumni network.
The first two Illuminate editions inspired over 3,500 attendees and sparked important discussions about the India's growing tech innovations. From Mangalyaaan's interplanetary success to the breathtaking Statue of Liberty, Illuminate has captured the spirit of engineering in India. Can we have a glimpse of our previous editions, please? Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. This year's Illuminate also boasts an exciting lineup of distinguished speakers who have shaped modern engineering landscapes. Without much await, let me introduce our first speaker, Mr. Srikanth Nadhamuni, founder CTO Aadhaar, a pioneer in the field of biometric identification. May I request Mr. Abhishek Sinha, Executive Director and President, Medical, Smart World and Functions at LTTS, to escort him to the stage and present him with a bouquet. Ladies and gentlemen, please give him a warm welcome. Thank you, dignitaries. I request both of you to kindly stay back while we call upon our second guest.
It's my distinct honor to introduce our next speaker, Ms. Gayatri Chauhan, founder and CEO of BuzzOnEarth, a leading voice in sustainable innovation. I would like to invite Dr. Rohini Nagapadma, Principal NIE, to escort Ms. Gayatri to the stage and present her with a bouquet. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Ms. Chauhan with a warm round of applause. Thank you, dignitaries. Please remain on the stage for a moment. We are about to formally inaugurate Illuminate 3.0, a celebration of how technology touches our lives. And what better way to start than with light, the universal symbol of knowledge and enlightenment. It's my pleasure to invite Dr. M.S. Ranganath, Honorary President, NIE Managing Committee, and Ms. Divya R., Senior Architect, LTTS, to join our dignitaries in lighting the lamp. Sir, please.
Thank you all for joining us. I now request all the dignitaries except Dr. M.S. Ranganath to kindly take their seats. I invite Dr. M.S. Ranganath, Honorary President, NIEMC, to the podium to officially open our event with his welcome address.
Our own directors, the public so enthusiastic, the students who have assembled here to listen to eagerly awaiting to listen to the speakers, especially from our own college and from Bangalore. I extend a very warm welcome to everyone present here today in the Karnataka State Open beautiful auditorium which you see, which can seat about 2,000. And I had been a witness to this earlier ago in the 1.0 L&T program with NIE 2 years ago. This is a unique public lecture series celebrating India's engineering prowess. We are delighted here to see such a distinguished gathering here today to witness this great event. To see all the business leaders, members of the public, united here to share a passion for innovation and desire to witness the stories behind India's remarkable engineering achievements. Today, Mysore is renowned for its rich heritage and intellectual activity. Proudly, in collaboration with LTTS, we are hosting 3.0. This event is a joint initiative both by L&T and LTTS and National Institute of Engineering. And this is the third year in succession having. The first year was very remarkable, and I was a witness to the same when the two distinguished speakers, one, the Moon Man, as he is popularly known, Mail Swami Annadurai, Padma Shri Annadurai, and Mr. Sudhanshu Mani of Vande Bharat fame. They were here and had a personal interaction with them as well. It was very exciting as well. Our key partner, L&T Technology Services Limited, a global leader in engineering research and development services, shares a commitment to innovation and excellence. The company offers end-to-end consultancy, design, development, and testing across product and product life cycles. In fact, as a medical doctor, I was myself associated with L&T when they used to do this R&T for the medical imaging monitors way back in 1990. And I was one of the first to use their electrosurgical diathermy in 1990. So I was very proud to say. LTTS expertise across diverging engineering domains, over 20,000 engineers, including a lot of students and from NIE, and I am proud to say that NIE is also associated with them, a proud alumni. I would like to express my sincere thanks to Mr. Shashidhar Dongre, Global Head of Process and Quality Mysore Center, Head for LTTS, also alumnus of NIE. Mr. Abhishek Sinha, Executive Director and President, Medical Smart World and Functions. Mr. Ravi Kumar, HR Ed, and Rishikesh Rao, Global Head of Strategic Initiatives, and the entire team for their invaluable support in making this Illuminate a reality. About our own college, NIE, established in 1946, one of the oldest engineering private colleges in India, a testament to the vision and dedication of its founders. NIE has been occupying a consistently high ranking, including 17th, you would have seen the week, the India Today and everywhere. We've been the 5th college in the state and 16th in Karnataka and the whole of India, I would say. Its recognition under the MHRD World Bank TechWeb program, the establishment of 16 centers of excellence, and the numerous funded research projects underscore its focus on research, innovation, industry, collaboration, with over 40,000 alumni holding prominent positions globally NIE's legacy of producing exceptional engineers is undeniable. Coming to our main event today, we are extremely delighted to have two very important speakers, Srikanth Nadhamuni and Ms. Gayatri Chauhan. I extend a very warm welcome to my own, I would say, Srikanth, who's our director, currently our director in NIE management. He's been a founder of CTO Aadhaar, and I think rather than me talking about it, he would give us a more detailed account of that. I don't want to waste time here. He's been in the board of HDFC and was in the Silicon Valley for about 15 long years in CPU and chip design. And Mother India, he wanted to come back and settle down here to do a great job here. I'm very happy, Mr. Srikanth. And our own proud alumni again of the National Institute of Engineering. We are also honored to have with us Ms. Gayatri Chauhan, founder and CEO of BuzzOnEarth and president of Gaia Foundation. I was just going through her biodata, and I was very happy to see that she is basically an architectural engineer and who's taken up this, her very own favorite topic of sustainability. And more so apt because our own college also has been doing a lot of sustainability program, and our own professor, Shyam Sundar, who's here with us, and through CREST, he's been doing a great job, of which I'm also one of the beneficiaries. Extend a very warm welcome to you, madam, again. This program is designed our valued audience in mind. We welcome each and every one of you from all walks of life and all ages to Illuminate 3.0. We're grateful for the continued support of the press and media, and also warmly welcome to this event. We're confident that today's program will be both enlightening and inspiring as our previous two editions. Invite you to join us in the journey of discovery as we explore the stories behind the engineering feats that are transforming New India. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ranganath. Your presence here today makes this a truly memorable occasion. And now, without further ado, let us move on to the main segment. At the time of its launch in 2009, India was the first country to implement a biometric-based unique ID system for its residents. Yes, Aadhaar. Aadhaar is widely considered to have significantly revolutionized India by promoting digital inclusion across the country. Our first speaker is the driving force behind this India's transformative Aadhaar system, Mr. Srikanth Nadhamuni. I request Ms. Shruti to introduce him formally to the august gathering.
Thank you, Deepa. Srikanth Nadhamuni is a technologist, entrepreneur, and a philanthropist. He has a 36-year career spanning across Silicon Valley, Bengaluru. He has worked across CPU chip design, national identity, fintech, banking, digital healthcare, municipal governance, digital public infrastructure, and AI. In Silicon Valley, he was instrumental in designing CPU architectures at Intel and Sun Microsystems, and he has contributed to the initial team of internet healthcare startup WebMD, which achieved significant industry impact. Returning to India in 2002, Srikanth co-founded e-Governments Foundation along with Nandan Nilekani, creating a digital platform for improving governance and service delivery, now deployed in over 2,000 cities in 14 countries. As the CTO founding of Aadhaar, he set up the UIDAI Technology Center in Bengaluru and led the development of world's largest biometric-based identity system. This initiative revolutionized India's national identity and catalyzed the growth of transformative digital public infrastructure like UPI, DigiLocker, and ONDC. In 2012, he partnered with Vinod Khosla to create Khosla Labs, a startup incubator which launched companies like NovoPay, Trust, Verify Digital, driving innovations in banking, payments, and identity spaces, and fostering digital transformations in these critical industries. In 2021, during the devastating COVID Delta wave, he launched the 10-bed ICU project, establishing the state-of-art ICUs and the tele-ICU system in over 200 government hospitals across 10 states. This provided critical care access when it was the most needed in our country. In 2023, he was also inducted into the Apex Committee for the creation of AI Centers of Excellence by the Government of India. Ladies and gentlemen, with great honor and pride, I present to you Mr. Srikanth Nadhamuni. Let us extend a warm welcome to invite him on the stage as we eagerly anticipate insights and reflections on Aadhaar and digital public infrastructure.
Well, it's wonderful to be here. Let's see if I can get my slides across. Wonderful. You know, Dr. M.S. Rangnath talked a little bit about my journey, and so did Shruti, I think. You know, like you see, I spent a lot of time in the Silicon Valley, and then in India, in Bangalore. But what I'd love to tell you is, I'm from Mysore, born and brought up in Mysore. ಹುಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ಬೆಳೆದಿದ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ಮೈಸೂರಲ್ಲಿ, ಹುಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ಕೆ ಆರ್ ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟಲಲ್ಲಿ. ನಾನು ಬೆಳೆದಿದ್ದು ಇಲ್ಲೇ ವಿ ವಿ ಮೋಹಲ್ಲ, ಒಂಟಿಕಪ್ಪಲು, ಜಯಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀಪುರಂ. 3-minute walk to this beautiful venue here. And it's wonderful to see a packed audience full of young people, a lot of you from NIE, my alma mater. Wonderful to be here. You know, we all know, well, this is a bit of a deck that I have presented in many countries. This is more for a international audience, so you know all this. I've talked about Aadhaar and DPI in the United States, in Europe, in London, in Sydney, in Germany, in many, many places. But it's a great honor to talk about this in my own city. So you all know this, big country, 1.4 billion people. We speak many languages, millions of small businesses, kirana shops, 1 billion connections with respect to mobile, lots of internet users, one of the largest economies in the world, the 5th largest economy. Probably by 2030 we'll be the 3rd largest, but very fast growing. The origins of Aadhaar was, you know, the government basically wanted to create an ID system that worked for everybody. We had one ration card, one NREGA card, this card, that card, and so on, usually pieces of paper that were not electronic and not portable. So if you are let's say a farmer in UP, you move to Delhi, let's say you want to be, a taxi driver, whatever, your PDS, your ration card does not work there. They say you're from UP, you can take ration only in UP. You can't use that in Delhi. So these IDs were not portable. And they also had lots of duplicates. This was the problem. So we needed a national identity for all Indians, all residents in the country. We had to do biometric. Everybody wonders, why did we have to do biometric? Many of our existing ID systems have duplicates and ghosts because we cannot uniquely identify people. If we only ask your name, address, gender, date of birth, and so on, there will be a lot of duplicates. So we had to capture fingerprint, iris, and a photo of the face and ensure that we deduplicated you. We'll talk a little bit about that. And we create a unique ID. That's where the UID authority comes from, Unique ID Authority of India. This is the hard constraint of IDs, uniqueness, and we'll talk about it, what the technical issues are. I was asked by the organizers to talk a little bit of technology behind Aadhaar, so we'll get into that. It had to be an online ID. So India was going from no ID to online ID, one big leap. Okay, in many villages, many places, people don't have good IDs. Okay, and of course, Nandan Nilekani was made the chairman at cabinet rank by the then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh in 2009, and the project got kicked off. I was actually that day, I think I was in Singapore. He called me and said, come back, you need to build this system. And that was the beginning. And I was asked to be the CTO to set up the technology center. But I'll tell you a little bit of the story, behind, the scenes. It was actually more of a garage startup. Usually when people think of, UID Authority of India, you think of big offices, committees in Delhi, discussing and so on and so forth. In fact, it was not unlike a California startup, okay, in a garage. Well, it wasn't in a garage, it was in an apartment. E403 was a brand new apartment building that was being built in front of our house. I said, okay, let's rent a room there. I don't know how long it will take for government to get us an office and so on in Bangalore. For 6 months, that was the UID Technology Center. We designed much of Aadhaar out there. About 6 people from the private sector, to later to be known as the TDU, Technology Development Unit. These were diaspora Indians who came back from many parts of the world. These were the most brilliant people. Some of you probably heard. Pramod Verma was a chief architect. Sanjay Jain was chief product manager. Vivek Raghavan was my biometric head. Raj Mashwala, who was the head of TIPCO, he lives in Edgar Hoover's home his brother's home in California. He moved, and 18 months he spent with us, all in that apartment. We'd all work day and night, have food at my house. My wife and sister are here. She knows all about this story. We had dinner together while this entire experience happened. So it was a melting, what drove this was the same energy that drives a startup. Okay? So the first thing I'd like to tell you is, even though it's a government project, it is not committees that design innovation, that come up with incredibly important work. It is small groups of people, like the 4 teams that I saw outside from L&T and NIE, innovating and showing new ideas. That's how Aadhaar began. Okay? Very important to recognize that. It is small teams that make big innovations. And even the project itself, when it got kicked off and we got an office space finally in Bangalore, and of course Delhi had a big office in central Delhi. It consists of not only government employees from IAS, from every cadre, IPS, IFS, Postal Service, and so on, and of course private sector experts, many of us from the private sector, volunteers, NGOs, all of it. It was a melting pot of people who came together. Aadhaar does 2 things, okay? How many of you have an Aadhaar? Very good. Was not the case when I used to give this talk in 2012, 2013. Half the audience did not have an Aadhaar yet. But Aadhaar does only 2 things. You've all gone through the enrollment of Aadhaar. It enrolls people. You've seen that whole process. Okay, and then we can verify you. Okay, the big problem of identification is described by this cartoon in the New Yorker. Yeah, I think it's the New Yorker magazine that had a nice cartoon. It's a dog who's typing on the computer's on the desk. He's actually sitting on the chair, and a dog is typing. And there's another dog on the side. And this dog on the computer is telling that dog, on the internet, nobody knows I'm a dog. Okay? This is the problem of identity. When a packet hits the server from the edge, from different devices, how do I know it is Shashidhar Dongre, or it is Srikanth, or it is Dr. Ranganath on the other side? He claims to be so-and-so, but how do I know? Shall I allow him to move money away? Shall I allow him to take benefit schemes from the government of India? How do you deal with this? This is the problem of identity online. And it is going to get worse because we are all more online than less. Earlier, You know, when my mom got me a bank account in 5th Main Road in Mysore, she literally took me to the bank manager, got me a kiddies account. The man knew me by face. He didn't even need to see my passbook. That's how identity worked in the past. But now we're all online. I have to know that it is certainly you. You're claiming to be XYZ. I need to know on this side on the server, it is indeed XYZ that is coming online. And I will allow his money, XYZ's money, to move away. And so on, right? This is the problem. So that problem is solved by verifying people. You've all done authentication on Google, user ID, password. That's a type of authentication. Many types of authentication we do, sometimes using our face, fingerprint, and so on. That is to verify you are indeed who you say you are. Okay? Very simple. Gmail is a great example. We all do Gmail. Second one is KYC. It also verifies for KYC. Government says banks, whether it's HDFC Bank or ICICI Bank, you cannot give an account unless you know who the customer is. You know his or her address. You know, the various details of the customer. Only then you can give an account. Same with try to give a SIM card by a mobile operator. So you need to do KYC, know your customer, and Aadhaar helps there as well. So there also it's very similar. If you authenticate, your details, name, address, gender, date of birth, not the biometrics, come down and the bank or the telecom can put it in their database saying, I've done the KYC appropriately based on Aadhaar. These are the actually only two things Aadhaar does. Second lesson, when you build complex systems, make it incredibly simple. Complex systems won't scale. Simple systems scale. If you want 1 billion of something, don't make it complex. You will never hit 1 billion. You have to make it very, 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 very simple. In Delhi, they used to, people would say, we want to know not only name, address, gender, date of birth, we need to know caste certificate, we need to know disability certificate, this thing, you need to know all that, put it in Aadhaar. We constantly were pushing back saying, no, if you do that, the system will die on its own weight. We will not be able to do it. And thankfully, we built a very simple system which does only two things. That is why now there are so many DPIs, digital public infrastructure, that are on top of Aadhaar, and it still functions. 100 million transactions a day, working. Face match, 40 million transactions a day, working. That's because it's a simple system. Another technical advice to all you youngsters is, when you build systems that need to scale for a country as large as India, make it simple. Well, how do you enroll? You've all been through it. We collect name, address, gender, date of birth, and then we collect your 10 fingerprints, 2 irises, and a photo of your face. But the hard part now, let us say my classmate Shashidhar Dongre is enrolling, and he gives all these details. I have to ensure Shashidhar has not come earlier with some other name, okay, and gotten an UID. That's the uniqueness constraint, correct? Only one ID for Shashidhar, not more than one, right? Now, how do we ensure? Unfortunately, there is no shortcut. I have to take his 10 fingerprints and his iris and compare it against the entire country. Unfortunately, it is not indexable for you techies. I can't go to, in the book you go to D for Dongre and then you look only there. No, doesn't work. Okay? Fingerprints are, these images can't be indexed like that. So we had to do enormous amount of compute. Okay, we'll come to it later. But that is what the 1:n deduplication check is. Before I get Shashidhar into the database, I have to ensure that he is truly unique, he's never come before to UID, and we can issue a new number. So we obviously very soon we realized, India being so large, such diversity that I showed you in the first slide, we can't simply open up 2,000 offices and say, everybody stand in line, we'll give you an Aadhaar. Rich and poor, urban and rural, we speak 16 languages on our currency note itself, we speak hundreds of languages. All of these divides. There are hills, there are coastal areas, how do you do enrollment everywhere? What we realized was we had to build an ecosystem of partners. So we created what is called a registrar. We said every state is a registrar of Aadhaar. We will give you the exact ways in which you will do it, but you will be registering on behalf of the UID Authority of India. States, banks, insurance companies, private sector was also included. We said if you are finding it very hard to get it done in the post office, go to your bank. Whatever. Take choice, give choice to the customer, to the residents. So we built an ecosystem of partners on enrollment side. Not only that, the private sector was included. Later when I talk about DPI, Digital Public Infrastructure, you will see that it is a collaboration. It is private sector innovation on public sector rails that is important. Public sector has to give the, needs to be the traffic cop. Give us the protocols, give us the standards. But private sector needs to come in and innovate and deliver with innovation how these large systems work. So whether it's the enrolling agencies, whether it is the operators who enrolled all of you, they were all private sector people, but working precisely on the rules of the government, right? So that is another very interesting thing that private sectors needed to drive an economy as large as India. Training agencies, device testing, devices came from globally around the world, but as per our standards, Indian standards, we very clearly specified, you want to play, you want to sell in India, you have to work on our standards. We came up with our standards, now it's become global standards. What we came up with, it's being used everywhere. A 4 lakh enrollment kit, you've all been in front of an enrollment kit to enroll yourself. It used to cost 4 lakh when we started. Because of this approach of standardization by the government of India, it came down to 1 lakh in less than 1 year, right? That's what India can do. We have a very large country, large market, but if we align it with standards, then you can see the competition working. The best devices coming at the lowest price in India. Why? Because everybody wants to compete for our markets. So it worked out very well. So anyway, this slide was just to tell you that government, private sector, civil society, all of them collaborated as partners in this ecosystem to deploy what we know as Aadhaar. Technology perspective, by the way, I added this because it's a very technical audience. As you can see, one remarkable thing here is it completely runs on open source. There is a misconception, oh, if I build proprietary systems, my proprietary system will be much more secure than open source systems because everybody knows how open source systems work. Completely wrong. Okay? When our encryption mechanisms, our open source encryption mechanisms to secure our software and hardware, if they get broken by somebody around the world, we immediately know it is broken. If you build it on proprietary systems, when it is broken, the thief is inside your house, you don't know because nobody has told you. Okay? This is the problem of proprietary closed systems. Everywhere, if you see on top, the persistent store, MySQL, MongoDB, Hadoop, distributed file system, we were doing 13 trillion biometric matches, 13,000 trillion biometric matches every day. So distributed compute working on an enormous scale. Okay, we were one of the first to pick up on this MapReduce architecture that came out of Google and Yahoo and so on. All of this is in open source. We were running Java, see at the bottom, commodity hardware, x86, running on Linux platform. This is India's Aadhaar system. Today we are teaching the rest of the world. This is how we have created an open source version of Aadhaar called MOSIP. And MOSIP is being deployed in so many countries. I was in Sri Lanka just the last couple of days. We are helping the government of Sri Lanka as well, how to improve their systems. It's all based on this, open standards, open source, commodity hardware, fairly low cost. You don't need supercomputers, domes, this, that, and so on, because they lock you in. Okay? Another big learning for us was open source systems and open architectures. What were the key challenges? Okay, firstly, we were hitting 1 to 1.5 million enrollments a day from across the country. Packets were coming. 5 terabytes of packets had to come from every corner of the country. It was coming to us. How do you manage that? If for one person itself, I have to compare him against the whole billion people already in the database. Let us say there are already 1 billion people. I have another 400 million to go. For one Shashidhar, I have to compare him against 1 billion people before I give him an ID. Imagine 1.5 million people come every day. I have to do that many more. That turns out to be, because we have 10 fingerprints and 2 irises and 1 face, so that's 13,000 trillion biometric matches every day. Okay, this was one of the largest compute infrastructures we had built. with Hadoop and distributed compute. And of course, there is a centralization because I have to compare everybody in one place. I cannot have this running like an appliance in different places and so on. The other big problem in software, which all of you youngsters will face, I'm sure all the professionals here understand, whenever you're scaling enormously at the pace we were scaling, and we went from 100 people getting Aadhaar to 10,000 people getting Aadhaar to 1 million people getting Aadhaar to 100 million people getting Aadhaar to, and so on, you have to refactor your systems. Your systems break in different places. You find bugs in different places when you're scaling like this. So you have to refactor your system so that it works. But you're trying, it's like changing the engine on a flying plane. Plane has to keep flying. I can't say, okay, everybody stop Aadhaar, we have to fix the software and we'll come back to you 1 year later. We can't. We have to keep giving Aadhaars, right? How do you do this? That was one of the biggest challenges the technology team faced. How to keep the scaling going at this rapid pace of India and yet keep Aadhaars being delivered, right? Of course, data privacy and securing the world's largest ID system. We have created a honeypot where the whole country's data is in one place. You think people won't attack it? Hundreds and thousands of people were attacking it. State actors were coming after it. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about that. I think I have a slide on how, yeah, right there. So firstly, on privacy and security, first thing we did was, Aadhaar is a random number. There is no intelligence embedded. We are not giving away either your gender or your date of birth or where you were born embedded in that number. Because as soon as you do it, privacy is gone. Some company goes, oh, he's too old, let's not give him a job. Okay, why? Because they saw it in your other number. Okay, your laws might say one thing, but you already compromised your privacy. I'm just giving one example, might be not the most relevant, but you do not want to store people's data embedded in numbers, okay? Completely random. Nobody can guess who you are, where you're from, whether you're male, female, nothing, right? And in the eyes of the government, that's how it should be. No fear, no favor. I mean, everybody treated equally. Data encrypted at source. While you gave your details and the guy who you're sitting in front of did your enrollment, your data was encrypted with 48-bit encryption and put on the disk. Okay, so all these stories, WhatsApp memes and all that, oh, after I did my Aadhaar enrollment, I'm getting all these calls, bullshit. Okay, nobody, 48-bit encryption can't be broken for 1 million years. Unless we have quantum computers breaking it, but that's a different story. So what I'm trying to say is, this was encrypted at source and at rest in the backend database as well. All packets biometrically signed. The enrollment operator who enrolled you, he put his fingerprint and I said, I did so-and-so's enrollment. Later, if we found something wrong and collusion, somebody's trying to defraud the system, if I was the operator, I can't say, no, I was having coffee, it was someone else who did it. No, you put your fingerprint. So we had penal provisions for people who collude and break the system, and so on and so forth. Raw biometrics never stored, decrypted. We in fact removed it from the network once we extracted the minutiae points that we needed, once we created templates from the biometrics, and so on, okay? And the authentication response, whenever somebody is being verified, either you're going into the airport or whatever, wherever you're verifying yourself using Aadhaar, only a yes-no answer. We are not giving your entire picture saying, okay, you want to know who this is? I'll tell you his name, I'll tell you his date of birth and so on. It's always yes or a no. Based on that yes, you do whatever, allow the person to enter the airport, give the guy a bank account, whatever it is. So several things had to be done, and we had to build these AUA, ASA perimeters for security, right? All right, now how do people feel about Aadhaar after now, it's been 2009 to 2025. So it's been 14 years since we designed the Aadhaar system. The population with Aadhaar, yesterday I checked, it was 95.5%, out of which adult population 99% have Aadhaar. At least today's survey that we did, it looked like all of you had Aadhaar, okay? How many people are satisfied? By the way, this comes from the Dahlberg State of the Aadhaar report, okay? This is not based on newspaper articles. A report was written. It's a little dated. It came out in 2019. I don't have the exact figures now. But the number of people satisfied with Aadhaar was 92%. The people who felt the data is safe with Aadhaar is 90%. Okay? The number of people who have used Aadhaar, either in the ration shop, in a NREGA, for receiving pensions, is about 80%. Okay? And have used one or more Aadhaar services is about half the people, almost half the country, right? So I'd say it's not a bad, status report, if you will. But there are challenges, okay? There are several challenges. People are not very happy with the support. They get totally delayed in fixing problems. If they have to update their address and things like that, it's quite delayed, okay? That's what I'm hearing from various places. The CAG also did an audit of Aadhaar, and there were several such observations as well, okay? If there are any questions, we can go into some detail there. Now I'm going to switch over to this topic of, interestingly, because of the way we built Aadhaar, it led to the digital public infrastructure, like a couple of speakers mentioned. So what is digital public infrastructure? Nandan Nilekani says, digital public infrastructure is about enabling a technology-led model for growth that is collaborative, equitable, and democratizes opportunity at scale. That's what he said. Bill Gates, on the other hand, said, just as we built roads, highways, airports in the 20th century, now we should build digital infrastructure. That's what Bill Gates said. And so what we're talking about, okay, I have 10 minutes, so I'll go a little fast. So what we're talking about is technology-led collaborative exercise at population scale, equitable. Equitable means I can't say, hey, I put a nice smartphone app, everybody use it and benefit from it. No, not everybody has a smartphone. You might need to do feature phone. Not everybody has a phone. You might need to do email. Not everybody has email. Maybe you have to do IVR on the normal phone line. Maybe not everybody even has access to that. Maybe there might be kiosks in the public. We have to get everybody working. And with generative AI, we can also do conversational interface. A farmer in Karnataka who wants to buy a buffalo, Kannadalli kelbeku, ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಗೆ ನನಗೆ ಇವಾಗ ಲೋನ್ ಸಿಗತ್ತಾ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಆಕ್ಯುರೇಟ್ಲಿ, ನಾಟ್ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಇಂಟರ್ನೆಟ್, ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ದಟ್ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಡೇಟಾ. ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗತ್ತಾ? ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟಾಗಿ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗತ್ತೆ ಇವತ್ತು, ರೈಟ್? ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಈಕ್ವಿಟಬಲ್, ಮೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಶೋರ್ ಎವ್ರಿಬಡಿ ಗೆಟ್ಸ್ ಆಕ್ಸೆಸ್. 5 principles, interoperability. I'll go a little fast, I'm not going to go through all of these. Interoperability, making sure systems talk to each other. Minimalist, reusable components like Lego blocks, okay, your components. Diverse and inclusive, federated. Today we don't have to centralize systems. You can federate and still make it work. And of course you have to pay attention to security and privacy, which we talked about. So India now has built the digital identity system, that is Aadhaar. This is a speech I gave at Sri Lanka. The Prime Minister was there. We are helping Sri Lanka come up with these things as well. So the names underneath was meant for a Sri Lankan audience. We built Aadhaar for digital identity. Verified credentials, DigiLocker. You people have all seen how your COVID vaccination was kept in the DigiLocker. When they asked you at the airport, you were able to pull out your app and say, here is the QR code signed, digitally signed COVID certificate, and so on. Interoperable payments, UPI. Who is not doing UPI in this room? You want to buy bananas, you want to buy chai? The guy says, sir, QR code will manbadi antalla. So this is UPI, okay? And we'll see the numbers of all this. What is happening in India? What is this digital transformation? Digital health. I've been involved in this as well. Ayushman Bharat digital mission. Your records from one hospital to the other with your consent can move with ABDM. Jandan Yojana, we'll talk about that. Banking. Flow-based lending. Loans can improve. So the same farmer, based on his digital sort of exhaust or footprint, can be given a loan. ONDC for digital commerce. Do we need only the MNCs to be able to do digital commerce? Can we also have our small suppliers go through unbundled delivery systems and still deliver customers? And can they attract customers without billions of dollars being spent? Maybe we can. So that is ONDC. And so on. Ayushman APB for benefit transfer and also for old age pensions. But I wanted to talk about a Mysore connection. Like Dr. Rangnath mentioned, during the COVID time, I set up this 10-bed ICU at KR Hospital, and we created hubs in about 10 hospitals around Mysore. Nanjangud, Santemaralli, Malavalli, Virajpet, and so on and so forth. But soon we saw there are not enough specialists in those small hospitals. So we created a tele-ICU hub in Mysore, met the dean, met the hospital superintendent, and then we built this care platform as a DPG, a digital public good. Today it has been recognized by the United Nations, this piece of software called CARE, as the 50th digital public good. It is connecting 200 plus, about 220 hospitals across the country. We have created, like CARE Hospital, 14 tele-ICU hubs in medical colleges across the country. This is working. Specialists sitting in medical colleges are helping poor patients in small taluka hospitals using this technology, which is built as a digital public good. This is an example of a digital public infrastructure. Started in Mysore, okay? I want us to remember that. So let's talk about identity and the numbers. 1.38 billion enrolled, 754 million connected with bank accounts, so monies, direct benefit transfers can go directly to them. 100 billion verifications. We have plugged leakages worth $10 billion already. Now, in 2008, before Aadhaar was started, only 17% of the people had bank accounts. Financial exclusion. Okay, it would have taken us 46 years, this is according to the Bank of International Settlements, for us to get bank accounts to everybody, or at least to 80% of the people. Because Aadhaar KYC brought the price of KYC down from 1,500 rupees per person to 3 rupees per person, but yet increased the assurance level, this took 6 years for India to achieve 80% bank account penetration, right? This is phenomenal, and countries have not seen this kind of, let's look at payments. UPI, all of us have some PhonePe, Paytm, Google Pay and other things, right? January 25, last month, India clocked 17 billion transactions of UPI, okay? We moved $300 billion in 1 month alone of a run rate of 3.6 trillion, right? This is the power of this technology that got ushered in, right? And direct benefit transfers, micro ATMs, this is on payments. And this works, I don't want to explain this in detail, but it's not just the banks, it's not just the remitter and the person receiving the money. The apps that you're using, the payer PSP, the other PSP, are private sector innovation. Google Pay is doing, PhonePe is doing, that's why it is becoming easier. If it is locked into, it's only SBI, it's only HDFC, maybe that app won't be as per, something that you really love, right? So, UPI's impact, okay, on India's economic growth. I was doing a little bit of research. The studies show that every 1%, and by the way, UPI is growing at like 30% year on year, the volume correlates with our GDP growth by 0.03%, okay? I don't know if it is causation, but certainly correlation is there between these two numbers. Cost saving of rupees 5.5 lakh crore, $67 billion of cost saving in our economy is a World Economic Forum study that's come out. So why all this happens is because we are boosting our small and medium enterprises. That is the backbone of the economy. It's not the largest of companies that the backbone. It is the long curve of small kirana shops, small businesses and so on. They are all getting more productive through digital. Remove paper, send payments, see products, all this online. That's what's happening. And you can see the correlation. UPI transactions going up, so as our tax collections. And this has led not only to a larger tax net, our finance minister 4 days ago has actually said more people don't have to pay taxes, up to 12 lakhs. You don't have to pay taxes. So the benefits accrue to not just, people who are richer or middle class, it accrues to people in the lower stratas as well. That is the important thing about DPIs. Lastly, on credentialing and DigiLocker. You know, DigiLocker, those days when I was young, you'll get a birth certificate, but you take it to some other government office, they'll say, I don't trust you. Who knows, you might have made some copy of this. Get a gazetted officer to sign this. All kinds of barriers for movement. Now you put it in the DigiLocker, your birth certificate, your driver's license, your NIE college certificate, everything is there. Somebody asks you, do you have your certificate? You can show with the QR code. You don't believe me? Scan the QR code. It will show that it has been digitally signed by NIE or by my Mysore City Corporation or whatever. That's what DigiLocker does. 5.2 billion transactions. So again, today Indians are storing Aadhaar card, PAN card, mark sheets, university degrees, birth certificates, all of this in the DigiLocker. Whoops. And again, here, I don't want to go into the architecture, but it's basically government issuers or other private sector issuers the relying party, whether it's the airport or L&T, which is checking whether you truly have a certificate, they don't have to go and ask the issuer, can you send me the certificate? All they have to do is scan the QR code that the applicant is showing, and you know that it's a correct digitally signed device. So DPIs like Aadhaar, UPI, and FASTag have generated enormous value. I want to leave you with Mysore's connection with Aadhaar. I put this up today morning. You know, since I was in Bangalore building Aadhaar at the UID Technology Center, and I would do a lot of tests in Mysore, Nanjangud and places like that. This is much closer. The first pilot test of Aadhaar was held in Mysore. The LPG gas cylinder deduplication. People were using 2-3 gas cylinders. We said Aadhaar is unique, so we can use this to deduplicate. We linked the LPG gas cylinder number with Aadhaar number, get the oil marketing companies to work with us. You won't believe, it worked beautifully in Mysore. Government said deploy it across the country. You know how much we saved? 8,500 crores in the first year. Okay? What is the cost of Aadhaar? Less than 8,500 crores. So the project in the first year, in the first pilot, the first project that we launched for 1 year had recouped the cost of Aadhaar entirely, right? And I want to thank Mysore for showing us that Aadhaar works, okay? And lastly, well, I will just say, well, if you want to learn more about it, there's a documentary about Aadhaar, but I wanted to, you can always watch that, but I wanted to leave these youngsters with a thought, okay? I studied at NIE, I got a wonderful education, and so are you, but we need you to be innovative. You're the future. We have built some things. You guys are going to build more amazing things, okay? India has set the world afire with digital public infrastructure. 100 countries in Cairo came together. We were there that wanted to learn from the Indian experience and other experiences. But this room has such smart youngsters. You need to innovate, create these kind of digital solutions to a country as big as ours, and improve it and take it to the next century. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Srikanth, for a fantastic and informative keynote on a biometric history of India's 12-digit revolution, which has enabled subsidies and social spends reach their true destination, plug institutional corruption, and save trillions of tax rupees, that too in a country with a population of 143 crores. What an achievement. Sir, only one thing is left now, linking our horoscopes to Aadhaar. I think it will make it life much better. Dear attendees, let us show our appreciation and gratitude with a resounding round of applause to this mastermind, Namma Hemmeya Mysorina Srikanth. It's time to introduce formally our second keynote speaker. Each of us has a role to play in shaping a sustainable future. Today, we will delve into how we can create solutions that benefit both humanity and Earth. Our second speaker, Ms. Gayatri Chauhan, is a champion of sustainable innovation who will be presenting on engineering innovations for people and planet. May I invite Ms. Smriti to share a brief overview of her background and expertise.
Thank you, Deepa. Gayatri Chauhan, an alumni of IIT Roorkee and ISB Hyderabad, is a globally respected leader and expert in sustainability and climate action. She is known for advancing innovation in environmental regeneration through a multidisciplinary approach. She also advises innovative corporations and startups on their ESG strategy, as well as the UN task forces focused on ecological restoration. She has spoken at hundreds of conferences and has been an invitable speaker, notably at UN. Ms. Chauhan is the founder and CEO of BuzzOnEarth, one of India's leading sustainable organizations, helping businesses and communities harness sustainability as a powerful catalyst for change. She is also a visionary founder of Gaia, the Earth Foundation, leading Mission Prakriti, a national social forest initiative to restore 1 million hectares of multi-layered food forests, improve farmer livelihoods, and regenerate ecosystem. As a president of India MUN, Ms. Chauhan leads an esteemed institution that empowers young leaders in climate action, providing a transformative empowers platform supported by technology, expert mentorship, and global pre-network to turn ideas into impactful action. Recognized as a global sustainable leader by the World CSR Congress and Economic Times, Ms. Chauhan is also a TEDx speaker and a distinguished fellow of Swedish Institute on Leadership and Sustainability. Please welcome on stage driven and dedicated Ms. Gayatri Chauhan with a huge round of applause.
A very good morning, everyone. It's my absolute pleasure today to be in this august gathering of engineers, brilliant minds, industry veterans, academic veterans, and the future innovators. I'm so pleased to be here today to share some of my thoughts and some of the very interesting innovations that might inspire you to build something bigger as you get into this field. So, So I would like to, I was actually thinking, what should I be speaking on today that would really inspire and which is something not heard of? And I came to this conclusion, I should speak about intelligence. And intelligence not in the conventional way, intelligence that really triggers human progress and drives technological breakthroughs. So as the famous scientist Albert Einstein had said, the true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination. I would like you to dwell on the three figures that you see in front of you and understand when we get just information as the data points, it is mere information. It is not much, you cannot do much about it. In fact, data points is even a stage before information. When it is crunched to make something meaningful, then it becomes information. But information, when it is connected to have some structure, then it becomes knowledge. But only when this information or these dots get connected in a very creative manner, then through imagination that is possible. That is creativity, and that is what drives innovation. So today we will be talking about some of these historical breakthrough innovations that the world has seen and how it has inspired us to talk about a fundamental technology today. I'll be just touching upon one technology because I'm a firm believer that one technology, if it is truly fundamental, can have transformative impact across industries and can have various innovations that it can lead to. As Mr. Srikanth very well presented the power of Aadhaar, and I was just telling him before this, that Aadhaar is not just one innovation, it has led to the entire digital revolution for the country. So if we come to the So as I said, here if you look at Mr. Edison, what he did he invent just a bulb? No. He actually revolutionized the entire, he actually laid the seeds of electrical revolution for the world to see. He was able to imagine that. So when you're able to see something which is beyond obvious, when you're able to create something which is beyond obvious, it is not just the incremental innovation that we're talking about. That is what creates ripples of change and enormous impact in a longer run. Similarly, Wright brothers, what they invented, they did not just invent the airplane, they actually invented what we today see as globalization, connectivity. The global revolution which is present today because of globalization is absolutely phenomenal, but that was not possible without that connectivity. The trade that we are looking at today, that was not possible without that connectivity. The third, again, decades later, Mr. Tim Lee and other visionaries alongside him, they came up with this World Wide Web. And that is what, it was not just a software or a program that they developed. It laid the foundation of what the digital world knows today. So what I'm trying to tell is this: a single innovation can solve multiple challenges once it is at the fundamental level. Now coming to today's discussion, because I come from a sustainability background and have been representing India at multiple forums when it comes to showcasing how India has been faring. And I always show this slide because it's very important. Do you see where India is, that red mark? Our per capita emissions are 2.1 metric tons, which is actually much, much lesser than what the US is. US is 14.3 tons, right? So if you compare that, we are actually far, far below. So why do we even care about sustainability? Do we need to? We need to, because our capita itself is huge. We are one of the largest populated countries in the world. So when this number, 2.1, gets multiplied with the population of our country, it becomes a huge number, and we become the third largest GHG emitter in the world. And that is where it is important for us to consider it. And given the development paradigm that the country has, we are required to develop at an exponential pace. And for that to happen, we cannot but avoid manufacturing, we cannot but avoid innovating. And whenever we manufacture, innovate, do new things, we are bound to get GHG emissions. So what is the need of the hour? The need of the hour is to come up with such breakthrough innovations that history has never seen, which will be able to put the manufacturing landscape of the country on a very innovative trajectory where there are lesser emissions and more impact. And this, we are talking about not just the circular economy, we are talking about regenerative economic innovations, where it is not just about replenishing and closing the loop, it is about regenerating, that is creating new systems, creating and rejuvenating the entire resources. So this is a quick snapshot of what India, because India is at such a pivotal junction right now. We are the largest democracy, fifth largest economy, and poised to be the third largest economy in the world. And that requires a significant effort. And we are having the largest working population age. And I'm so glad to see the audience over here, which comprises of most of the young people, because India is the youngest country in the entire world. More than 50% of our students are less than more than 50% of our population is less than 25 years of age, which gives us the most happening future and power to rule the world if we are putting our energies in the right direction and channeling it for the right innovations. Out of the 500 gigawatt renewable energy target that India has, we have already reached somewhere around 180 gigawatts. So the out of 424 gigawatt, which is our total generation capacity, RE is currently at 180, and 88 is coming in from other directions, including nuclear. So which is again setting us on the trajectory that we are not going to develop the way the West has developed. Our developmental paradigm is going to be absolutely revolutionary and showing the way to the world ahead. Our strategic location, that also gives us a very important vantage point. The digital economy, we have heard enough from Srikanth about that 20% of our GDP depends on that. Now showcasing India's manufacturing potential. The reason why Make in India came into picture was for a particular reason, that we know that India has to become the manufacturing hub of the world. And that can happen only if we are able to innovate in our manufacturing sectors. And I'll be talking about two distinct manufacturing systems. One is discrete, the other is process manufacturing, and how innovations can happen in both of them. So we are the fifth largest manufacturer, but currently it contributes to 17% of India's GDP, and it is aiming to be around 25% by 2030. And if you look at the world's factory shift, of course, India and Vietnam both are considered, but given the size of the country, of course, India is the most eligible candidate when it comes to the shifting of world's factory. It is no more going to be China. And that is, again, a very important thing for us to know, that how critical it is for you to now come up with innovating solutions in our own country. Then commitment to green manufacturing. Unlike other nations, we are not going to be totally GHG heavy. We will be coming up with solutions that are far more energy efficient. And India's leap in renewable energy, I already covered that. We are already at 188 gigawatt in our renewable energy mix. Now coming to our global positioning with respect to deep tech and advanced manufacturing, this is one very important area, and I saw some of the work in digital twin today, and Industry 4.0 is going to be the next defining moment for the rest of the world, and we are going to take a massive leap in that. And that is going to create some 100 million jobs in the country. And this is so important because the youth of today is going to be the decision maker of tomorrow, and that is going to further create that positive cascading effect that will take our economy to the trillion-dollar economy that we are all aspiring for. And revolution in intelligent manufacturing is what is the topic of today's discussion that I will be focusing my further presentation on. And that is where I actually also introduced the company called Steer, which has been a pioneer in inventing this technology called intelligent compounding. And most of my innovations today that I'm going to present to you are going to emanate out of this fundamental core technology that is called intelligent compounding. So if you talk about the major breakthroughs in manufacturing, since we are talking about technological breakthroughs, so what are the most important breakthroughs you have heard when it comes to manufacturing? So first I've shown these two buckets. One is discrete manufacturing industries, then the process manufacturing industries. And in the discrete, you know, the flow system, that is how the assembly line functions, that has been a major breakthrough. But do we have a parallel to draw in the process manufacturing, where we are dealing with substance? Because unlike materials and objects, when it comes to substance, it is not the same thing, because the ingredient mix and the quality, the properties, the physical, chemical properties, all of that really matters. And that is where the requirement of the similar system was felt in the process manufacturing industries. And that is where the advent of intelligent compounding came in, and that is what is going to be showcasing solutions further to you. So I'll also draw a parallel with what Wright brothers tried to solve here. So when it comes to the process manufacturing, are we able to control the flow in 3 dimensions? And the 4th dimension is, of course, that of time. So how are we able to draw inspiration from that? So that is where it actually made a difference. And you will be able to see that in the subsequent slides, how intelligent compounding has been such a breakthrough. Because it was not just innovating on one front. It was innovating on the front of metallurgy, innovating on the front of CAD, that is computer-aided manufacturing. It was innovating in the front of design, and it was also innovating in the geometry. How the geometry of the components is further innovated in order to create something which can have this kind of 4-dimensional control of flow. So coming to that, you can see the applications of this in the various industries, and that is what I'll be sharing further. This slide particularly shows you drawing a comparison with the microprocessor trend data, how much evolution happened in 40 years of microprocessor trend data versus the compounding technology. So if you see the first 100 years, the compounding technology actually grew from point A to B. So what you see here, 1940 to almost 2000, that is where it grew. And this was the amount of innovation that happened. And it was all limited to integer lobe. And of course, I'll come to that in the subsequent slide. But from 2000 to now, the kind of innovations it has been able to experience, that is because of an important element called fractional lobe geometry that we will be discussing in the next phase. So this intelligent compounding technology has gone through different distinct phases of evolution, similar to VLSI, like in electronics as we see. So fractional lobe geometry is going to show you how instead of integers, if we are able to, innovate in terms of geometry and create that fraction and then regulate the motion around that, it is going to be a phenomenal shift in the way we are able to process materials and transform materials and have that control over the flow. And why it is so critical? It is critical because of the need of material transformation that is required, and material transformation requirement is felt across all the industries, whether it is food, pharmaceuticals, material technologies, and then each of these sectors is having various products and solutions that it can further offer. So the technical challenges, since I was told to particularly focus on that, so the technical challenges we met were on 3 areas. One was metallurgy, that is rethinking high-performance tool steels. So the most important thing was, till then, the only tool steel, high-performance tool steel, powder metallurgy was known. That was a process which was adopted. But we invented our own material called acrolloy using microgenic technology. And that was a revolution when it came to creating a very, very high-quality tool steel, drawing inspiration from our traditional wood steel. So that was the first level of breakthrough. The second level of breakthrough that was on geometry, as I told you. So when we invented fractional lobe geometry, the traditional compounding, that is mixing efficiency, was before that very limited, because in integer lobe, there are limitations of how much you can actually process. And of course, the self-cleaning systems have their own limitations again. But when we were able to introduce the fractional lobe geometry, the way the flow happened, the way the system functioned, it just opened up new possibilities and led to various kinds of properties and material transformation attributes that were never ever felt before. The third and the most important again was that of computer-aided manufacturing, utilizing computer-aided manufacturing in order to develop this solution. So intelligent compounding came into being by actually meeting these 3 most important technical challenges. Of course, there were several others, but these were the most prominent ones that really concern with the engineering innovation. So now I'll be talking about the applications and the problems, and that is where I think you will start relating with all the technical stuff which was being discussed so far. All of us know about the problem of plastic pollution. Do we agree with that or not? So we are all contributors of that. But is it possible for us to stop using plastics? Because if you look at primary packaging, secondary packaging, there's so much of plastic. Maybe secondary packaging you can still avoid by getting into behavioral shift. But primary packaging, how do you avoid that? There is no way to do it. And 400 million tons of plastic waste is produced. And this is not a small number. And the kind of impact it has is not only on the land or the landfills that are created that look so ugly in our cityscape, but also it affects the marine life. It affects the way our river ecosystems function, and it is affecting the biodiversity eventually. So look at this very famous picture of National Geographic, where you're seeing a tortoise completely entangled in a web. And these things are unavoidable because of the advent of such a wonder material called plastic and no advent of further managing that waste. So we are going to talk about how intelligent compounding has been able to create a solution for that. So these are the landfills, and I'm sure all of us have seen these sites, and it is not something which is, meant for magazines alone. The second problem I will be also talking about is that of deforestation. Again, this is something very close to my heart because I work close to nature, and it really pains me to see destruction of forests for the sake of wood. And there are companies to be blamed, or the need, that human demand for wood leads to this kind of destruction, and you cannot avoid that again. So what are the solutions that you can think of? Like India, we have lost close to 700,000 hectares of forest in last 1 year. So we have to see this kind of, in last 30 years, in so many years, if we have lost this land, is there a way for us to rejuvenate? Is there a way for us to stop that? And for that, we definitely need help from engineering solutions. The forests are considered to be the lungs of our earth, and these serve as the carbon sinks. So destruction of forests for the sake of wood is a big crime, according to me, and that is where our solutions actually feature in. So now coming to the first mile of the solution, that is that of material recovery. So wherever plastic waste is present, if you see the source of plastic waste. So the first mile solution is a machine called Safer Recycler, where it is a refrigerator-sized machine, and it is able to take all kinds of multi-layered plastic waste that can go into it, and you don't even need to qualify it beyond a point. So this co-mingled plastic waste gets emitted. You can simply dump it, and the machine is able to crush it and make it into small chips. So that is the first mile, and that is a very phenomenal innovation that can be put across hospitals, institutions, colleges, schools, and so on. Large campuses like your companies, Wipro, TCS, L&T, and so on. So that is the first mile where we do the recovery, and this is how the safer recycler machine looks like. And as you can see, it can take all kinds of waste and crush it into small pieces. Those are called plastic chips. And then these chips are taken through this process of ICH. ICH stands for Intelligent Compounding Hub, where the intelligent material transformation happens for these plastic chips, and wood substitute material, that is called unwood, that is created at the end of this cycle. And these pictures actually show you the kind of structure and how much similar it is to hardwood. So never ever in history before we were able to create anything similar to hardwood as a substitute for wood. And what solutions we are creating by this? The two environmental solutions that we are able to really tackle is tackling plastic pollution waste, and second, tackling the deforestation issue. Just with one solution, we are able to manage both and come up with some amazing products that you can see here. You can see the kind of dining tables, chairs, outdoor furniture, balcony furniture, the pallets that are used for logistics and supply chain. So various applications are there for this material. And it is having properties not just at par with wood, but also superior to wood, because there is no termite problem, there will be no waterproofing problem, because it is eventually made out of plastics waste. So this is what the power of intelligent compounding and engineering can do by doing a material transformation. So that is one. So as I said, we are solving two problems with one solution here, and this is having minimal resource requirement. The beauty of the solution is this: the energy requirement, the water requirement for this. There is no water required in safer recycler, and the energy requirement is also so minimal that it is lesser than a refrigerator. So these are the solutions that we need for the humanity to progress and create solutions at scale. Now coming to the next problem, again this is a very important problem, soil, which is the mother of humanity. Soil is being contaminated by microplastics. I have seen many companies or startups that have come up with solutions of managing plastic waste and laying them on the roads. That is absolutely wrong, because if you lay plastics waste on roads, what it will do whenever there is friction, it will lead to microplastics. And where does this microplastic go? It will either go into the biome of the environment, or it will go in your human biome. So either it will cause cancer or other diseases, or it will cause problems with aquatic life, marine life, or contaminating the ecosystem. So it has to be sorted at that level. So if you look at the microplastics problem, so 88 pieces per kg of soil, and this is really saddening to see that it is invisible to our eyes. We are doing that unconsciously, because either we are not knowing it, or we are not able to see it. And growing population and requirements are leading to it. So of course, demand side, I'm not even going to get into that, because we are required to use these things. But the solution that we will talk about will help you understand how we can address these problems. The second innovation is that of, again, the soil degeneration that happens. You know, a spoonful of soil has billions of microorganisms in that. That is the richness of biodiversity a spoonful of soil has. And with contamination with microplastics, that biodiversity gets completely killed. And you're not able to see that, so you don't feel it. And how does it impact you? Because then it starts getting into the food that is grown in the same soil. As for the latest, I don't know whether many people have seen this documentary, which spoke about, we are not left with more than 50 years of farmable land, because the soil degeneration due to the putting of pesticides, fertilizers, and various chemical components in the soil has really degenerated the quality of soil. And that degraded soil cannot be good for growing food anymore. And we can, of course, live with pandemics like COVID. We were able to, we are a success in, fighting against COVID. But then, do you imagine we can fight against something like food security. If there is no food, there is no land to grow food, how will we survive? That's a survival question. So this is the second innovation that we will be talking about. And this is a biodegradable. In fact, biodegradable is not the only word, because it is bio-enriching. Because when this, and the solution comes in two forms. I'll tell first about the first one. It is the plastic pollution that we use for using the, plastic baggages, or the packaging that is used for storing materials, fresh produce. It is going to keep them, it is mimicking the peel of a fruit. The way an apple peel would behave, this packaging behaves like that. So it will not only keep the substance fresh inside, but when it is thrown, it will actually merge into the soil and increase the nutrient potential of the soil. So that is the, innovation in terms of sustainable packaging. And it is having two applications. One is in mulch sheets, and the second is in simple sustainable packaging. This is what you can see in mulch sheets. When the leaves, the way a green leaf falls on the earth and creates a layer, this is what this mulch sheet is able to do. And when it degenerates, it actually acts like a fertilizer for soil, because it is made out of biophilic materials. Similarly, there are other solutions which are, of course, outside of material I'm now going into. But again, the same solution, intelligent compounding, is able to create bioavailability for supplements like iron and calcium supplements which we use. And that is able to make it more affordable, more accessible, and far more beneficial for the human consumption. Because if you take iron otherwise, it can cause havoc, because it cannot be absorbed by your body just as it is. So this is the solution that creates that bioavailability enhancement for the material, including the pharmaceuticals and the drugs that are for micronutrient deficiencies. And this is what obesity, we know that this has been considered as one of the major crises, hidden hunger. We consider people, someone who is very weak, if you go at Somalia and get a look of a person from Somalia, you will see that, yeah, that person is suffering from micronutrient deficiencies. But if you see an obese person, you may not understand, but that is where the hidden hunger lies. It is a widely present problem. And again, this is not having a solution because of the kind of processed food we eat. And that processed food, we are a land of millets. India declared 2023 as a year of millets because we are having such important food grain that can be used for making all kinds of pastas and noodles and so on. So that is where the third innovation comes into picture, where you will be able to see how we are solving not just the supplements, but also the basic nutrition, which is arsenic-free, having low glycemic index, and all of these properties we are able to achieve because of this fundamental technology that I spoke about. So solutions are going to be immense and across industries, but what I want to leave you all with is to understand the power of engineering innovation. So the person who has been holding these 165 patents that led to these technologies and solutions is sitting amongst us here, Dr. Babu Padmanabhan. And you may please rise and see the people. Yeah. And engineering, according to him, is what brings technology to life, and innovation is what brings that to the market by addressing a real need. And that is where I say that one fundamental technology and its applications across is so important. And as Elon Musk very nicely says, engineering is nothing but that magic that makes things happen. So with that, I would like to appeal the young audience and the mentors and the industrialists present in this room to lead on this inspiring path. Just go out, be bold in innovating and creating fearlessly. And the future really lies in your hands. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Chauhan, for that compelling presentation. Your passion for sustainable innovation is contagious, and your insights into empowering youth for climate action are invaluable. I hope you have reignited in all of us a sense of urgency of protecting our planet, and there is plenty of room for sustainable innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a huge round of applause for Ms. Gayatri Chauhan? We are now delighted to move to the most anticipated segment of our event, the Fireside Chat with our distinguished guests. Following the inspiring presentations we have heard, I'm sure many of you have questions and insights to share. We'll have a Q&A session towards the end, giving everyone a chance to participate.
For those joining us online, please be assured that we value your contributions. Our team is curating your questions, so please submit them through the platform. We'll do our best to address both online and in-person questions. If you don't get a chance to ask your questions today, please feel free to connect with our distinguished guests through their social media platforms.
So the energy in the room is fantastic, and we are excited to begin our Fireside Chat. Let's welcome our esteemed guests to the stage, Ms. Gayatri Chauhan, Mr. Srikanth Nadhamuni, and Mr. Abhishek Sinha, Executive Director and President, Medical, Smart World and Functions at LTTS, who will be moderating this exciting Fireside Chat.
A very good afternoon to all of you. It's amazing to see that the auditorium, not just the ground floor, but the top is full as well, and I'm told that there are people waiting outside. It's my great pleasure and very humbling experience to again welcome our keynote speakers, Srikanth Nadhamuni, founder and CTO of Aadhaar, a technologist and philanthropist whose work spans from Silicon Valley in the US to our own very Silicon Valley in Bangalore, of course, starting from, I would say, Namma Mysuru, the local boy of Mysore. I'm sure all of you are proud of. And of course, Ms. Gayatri Chauhan, founder and CEO of BuzzOnEarth, a champion of sustainability and leadership. When her presentation started on intelligent compounding, a lot of things were, I don't know for how many of you here, for me it was all going above my head, till she got into her innovations, the 5 innovations. The kind of work being done is absolutely mind-boggling, and Dr. Babu, I think a lot of credit to you to bring the technology to what India is taking to the world. Thank you so much. It was great to hear about how technology and sustainability come together to bring innovations to the world. LTTS, like it was shared earlier, we are today the largest #1 engineering R&D services provider from India, close to $1.5 billion now. And we continue to use technology to provide services, bring innovations to the world, to our customers worldwide, on 3 key pillars: mobility, sustainability, and technology. And when Shashidhar, of course, a colleague of Srikanth, when we're looking for the speakers we could call for this year's Illuminate, we said, why don't we look at least 2 of our core pillars between mobility, technology, and sustainability, and find speakers who have made a difference to the world. And we couldn't find better people than the 2 of you. So thank you so much for gracing the occasion. Today we will talk about the work being done by our speakers around innovation technology, of course tying to sustainability as well. So without further ado, let me start with the questions that we have received from many of you here. Let me start with a question with you, Ms. Gayatri, and the same question I will come to you as well. What do you think could be the top technology areas which you think will shape the world as we go forward? We hear of AI, but what are the areas, other areas that you think are going to shape the world in the coming years?
Yeah, first of all, I would really appreciate that question because I was in Baku, Azerbaijan 3 months back for COP29, and this question came up when I was talking about the TIHs, that is the Technology Innovation Hubs that are set up by the Government of India. And if many of you know about the TIHs, the focus of these TIHs is mostly around the digital technologies, AI, or the data, or machine learning, and so on. So what we really have not focused, or basically I would say glamorized enough, is that on the core technologies, the fundamental technologies, like one I presented today, that was intelligent compounding, which is so core to material transformation. And material transformation is needed across industries, whether it is your semiconductors, or your metallurgical applications, or your food, or pharmaceuticals. In fact, bringing down the cost of a pharma drug, which is required for everyone. Like look at the time of COVID vaccines again. We were able to do that only because of that material transformation, which is required to bring down the cost of a drug so that it can be accessed and afforded by a common person. So I would say that the focus on these, I am not at all against these digital technologies. Of course, they are absolutely essential, but they have to be topped up with the core technologies that are going to solve multiple problems in a longer run. And the whole technological landscape has to be seen in such a breadth as against just limiting it to the top up alone, right? So the focus on fundamental, and especially according to that, the expense that goes from the Government of India on the R&D for these technologies and the solutions and the ecosystems that are created for enabling further refinement and further development in these areas, that is absolutely critical and would be suggested to be taken up on priority.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that a lot of engineers here will relate to this. Core technologies, so be it metallurgy, mechanical, chemical, civil, electrical. I mean, these are all core technologies around which our country creates engineers on. And I mean, I resonate with you. I'm sorry to say, but a lot of work that's happening on the computer science and digital side seems to be talked of more than the core technology areas because those look like touch and feel. I'll just touch on one example that I was talking to my engineers recently. So there's this aspect of PFAS, which is a chemical which, when present in devices which touch the skin, can cause cancer. So there's a lot of regulation coming up on how do we detoxify, if I may, these plastics so that when it comes in touch with human skin, it does not cause issues. Now, digital technologies cannot solve that problem. You actually need metallurgy, chemical engineers, and those kind of engineers to be able to figure out what do we do with those materials so that they are safer for human beings. And there's a lot of research going on those areas. Coming to you, Srikanth, what is your view on where the world is going from a technology perspective?
Well, I was building a new room in our house, and N.R. Ashok, who's here from NIE, our society member, I saw that it's so hard to get stuff done, to build stuff. It's a very small scale. If you're building a much bigger building and so on. So I just look at our country's capability to build. And when you compare it with China, for instance, seem to be building fantastic trains and ports and infrastructure. The manufacturing capability, our ability to do, you were talking about core subjects, mechanical, EV cars, we need to clean up the environment. Yesterday I was looking at the IQ in Bangalore is not great, in Delhi it's awful. What are we doing about those are super important. Because digital, the IT industry affects a very small population from a job market perspective. We'll come to that. But I think India needs to really improve with respect to our ability to manufacture, our ability to build, see, right now, the people who are coming and working at my house were not trained at all. Okay? Slowly they have risen to be masons and so on. Where is the training in large numbers so that we can build enough houses, enough offices, enough infrastructure for the country. So I think there is a gap right now in technology that will help build for the future, as well as our ability to train on a vocational basis. We don't all have to be engineers to, lay foundation, build walls and so on. So to me, that is of a big concern. Our cities today are unlivable in most of the large cities, okay? Why do you think I'm spending so much time in Mysore? Lot better environment here. AQI is so much better here. What are we going to be doing about that? Agriculture, can we improve and so on? So to me, the core subjects that you both talked about, I think are super important and crux to the country's needs. Now, of course, I would be remiss if I don't talk about generative AI, since you've asked this question. It is going to make a huge difference, I think, generative AI. The areas where our country will benefit directly from generative AI, firstly, conversational AI. Meaning, if a lot of our people are in the villages, they are not used to English. Our banking, our commerce, our governance is all based in English and so on. That's a problem. Can I talk my own language? I don't know how to write. Can I still be able to get services from the government, from the bank, from the hospital, and so on? Generative AI can solve this problem. Okay, the way today we are seeing generative AI respond, like ChatGPT, like interfaces, is phenomenal, like a human being, okay? And that is the first. Number two, healthcare. I am in the Apex committee trying to create AI centers of excellence for the government of India in 3 areas. One of them is healthcare. And there we are seeing fantastic work. We're working with the Indian Institute of Science, where a picture of the mouth, of the insides of your mouth, using a smartphone is able to detect oral cancer. Okay, at the field, you can do screening now. This is not only at some, Apollo hospital and so on. In an NGO in the field can detect cancer at a fairly good rate in the field. Breast cancer, one of the biggest things that afflicts Indians. Can we detect that? We are working with AIIMS in Delhi. Fantastic work. 5 different models have been built, right? So stuff like this, but it's not enough to build all these amazing models in India and then go write papers or maybe do a startup and be done with it. Can it become a digital public infrastructure like Aadhaar and can be rolled out to every hospital in the country, every government hospital, the poorest Indian being able to access the best doctor in seconds at 0 cost? Can be done with today's technology, at least in specific areas. Education. I think education is going to change with generative AI. Huge amounts of, and how do we adapt to it? We at NIE, the management committee, we are grappling with this. We are trying to understand how to get ready for this and so on. So I basically feel these are all the key areas where, technologies are going to come in and change things. And lastly, I mean, you guys have a fairly large software force. Coding, AI is doing fantastic code generation, okay? I'm blown away with what our folks are doing using GitHub Copilot or Cursor or whatever the latest thing is. So all of these, I think, are the wave of the future.
Yeah, I can't help but agree with you more, Srikanth. Today, our phones are wallets. I will not be surprised if tomorrow the same phones become the point-of-care devices, right? The example that you just point the phone to your mouth and take the image, and it detects your oral cancer. It's what a POC device is supposed to do. Right, so I think the power of digital, clearly, more than anything in my head, is scale. If you want to have scale solutions, digital technologies can get there fastest. Now, picking on a similar topic from what you presented, Ms. Gayatri, the example that you gave, the most impressive was the Unwood story through Steer that you have launched. I see some nice props on the table here. You might want to show the audience. But clearly, I mean, just imagining how you can convert plastic to those chips to the furniture, that journey. Can you help understand how would that scale? Because this is a real problem. Now, what is the vision of scaling this, solving this problem at scale?
So first of all, for the larger audience, I would like to show some of these pieces. So this is part of unwood, which can be used for various applications. And it can come in different forms and shapes, and the properties can further be varied for the applications as required. And that is the power of material transformation here. And for the look and feel, in fact, I was myself absolutely shocked and surprised to see this miniature version of a furniture, the chair, because making it at this size is still okay, but being able to cut it in slices in this form was absolutely phenomenal. But then you have this model in front of you to see what it can do. And here you can see the chips also, where the kind of waste that is collected. This is the multi-layered plastic waste, which actually gets collected and shredded and put in the safer recycler. So as I said, just to answer your question, there are two parts to the solution. The first mile is safer recycler, and currently, while we have developed the safer recycler, because we wanted to do it at scale, and this thing can happen at scale only if we are able to recover material in a consistent manner and at scale. Because plastic waste generation is not a problem, but getting that consistently, the right kind of qualified input that reaches the intelligent compounding hub. So intelligent compounding hub is meant to be positioned in various regions all across the country. But then the safer recycler machines, which are refrigerator-sized machines, that can be planted in almost every single campus, where it can take this kind of waste and convert that into, so I don't know whether we have chips here or not. We may not have the chips currently, but then yeah, it gets converted into beautiful, colorful chips, and then that is mixed with the materials as it is required, because sometimes it requires glass reinforcement, sometimes it requires jute reinforcement. So basis the requirement of the finished product, we are able to, so that is why it is called intelligent compounding, because what goes in and what level of compounding happens, that gets decided there. But just to answer your question, the solution is a 2-mile solution. The first mile is actually to get this kind of waste converted into chips and get a consistent supply of chips to the intelligent compounding hub. And at intelligent compounding hub, the transformation of these chips happens into a material like this, which is a wood substitute material, which can be, so currently we are having our own setup to convert that into products, but we would like to tie up with retailers that that have experience in doing that in mass production, and produce furniture outdoor, indoor, and as required at scale.
Thank you so much. Very exciting, and we hope you success. I think the world needs it. Srikanth, Aadhaar, of course, touches everyone in this room, and this has clearly created the digital revolution in the country. And I agree with her. Aadhaar was fine, but if you look at the digital revolution that our country has achieved, the root was Aadhaar, right? That's where it all started. And because we had that foundation, it was easier to go the UPI route and go to where it is, because you knew the customer, right? I mean, that's the way it is. The work that you're doing right now with the government, are there any other such fundamental areas that we are working on as at the country level, which you think can create similar revolution in future on other areas?
Yeah. The country is actually working on very, very interesting digital public infrastructure, very much like Aadhaar. I think for the first time, we Indians, everybody, not just the middle class or the upper middle class or whatever, everybody realized, hey, we can improve our lot, we can move forward, this digital is our friend, with the help of a mobile, with the help of connectivity, with the help of internet, with the help of these services government is delivering at free or at very low cost, I can help myself and my family. That has sunk in all the way, okay? Earlier there was, technology, this is for the rich, and for poor we have to do something. All of those kinds of dialogues have gone away more into how do I help myself with all these things that are happening around me. Even if I don't have a smartphone, my family has one and we are able to do banking. We are able to get a loan. We are able, and so on. So the mind shift of the people saying digital can empower us, move the needle on our economy, and make us take sort of inclusive growth, that I think to me is the biggest thing that has happened in India, right? Now, the examples, for instance, like I explained earlier a little bit about Ayushman Bharat digital mission. Can you imagine? I mean, today in the United States, for instance, if I go to Stanford Medical Hospital and get whatever done, those records can't be shared with the El Camino Hospital down the street, because this guy is running Epic and that the other person is running Cerner or whatever, the Practice Fusion or some other EMR. They don't talk to each other, right? Whereas if the ABDM system already being launched in India and worked, all the hospitals, if they connect up, you, patient or customer, will be able to say, Apollo, please send my details to whatever, Columbia Asia, or Care Hospital, please send it to Apollo, whatever it is, right? And we are a migrant nation, people are moving. All of these are super important. Like Aadhaar being portable, our medical records have to be portable. ONDC, again, huge importance. Can we unbundle e-commerce? Is it only the MNCs that can control all our customers on the billion per day because of the huge marketing budgets, and no small supplier can do their own business? Right now, it's the small retailers and the kirana shops and the smaller suppliers, if they don't go into one of these major platforms, they're finished. They can't get customers because everybody is going to an Amazon or a Flipkart or whatever. So the government through ONDC is unbundling the services, meaning they are able to get customers for you. Now, can you sell and also get the logistic player who delivers as a part of this ONDC platform? All of those pieces are coming together. So these kinds of things, and you save on the 30% you have to pay to these large players, right? Can we do that in many, many sectors? It is happening in several sectors. Nammayatri is a good example of that, where autos in Bangalore, you can hail, you don't just have to go through Ola or Uber and so on. So there are many, many, many examples that I could give you. For one of time, I wouldn't go through all those examples, but India is leading in some sense in the creation of digital public infrastructure. And the important thing is it's public infrastructure. It's not only, unfortunately in the West, in many countries, identity has become the preview of one large company. One large monopoly has said, okay, I'm giving you everybody IDs. I'll give everybody email addresses, and that has become the default ID. That's not, the company is not meant to do public infrastructure. Their goals are something else, and you can't blame them for it. So I think the approach we have taken of saying it has to be inclusive growth, government has to set the rails, and then private sector can innovate and participate in that, has been a good method.
Thank you, Srikanth. Probably the last question, because I want the audience to ask questions as well, one from you and one from you. So when we are sitting outside, you gave that story about how the land is in the country is becoming non-agricultural land at a very high speed. What is your organization doing? What is the innovation that is happening around that space to make more cultivable land? And if you can end with a message to the young engineers.
So my foundation called Gaia the Earth Foundation, that runs a program which is a national program called Mission Prakriti. And Mission Prakriti is on a mission to grow 1 million hectares of forest. So India has close to 98 million hectares of degraded land. And out of that, we have chosen a humble target of 1%, targeting that. And converting, so this degraded land has to be converted into a rejuvenated land, and that is possible by creating this multi-layered forestry technique that we have developed. Of course, with due credits to Mr. Fukuoka, because it is based on his principles of growing, forest ecosystem. But we have added further refinements to that, like we have a 9-layered methodology where even moss is considered a layer. So that is how we have, so moss is there, then tubers, climbers, creepers, and small trees, mid-sized trees, grasses. All of that creates an ecosystem which then starts rejuvenating the biodiversity in the soil, and then gradually the biodiversity above soil also starts coming in. Like in a project in Madhya Pradesh, which was 1.5 to 2 year old project. So you can imagine a 1.5 to 2 year old plantation project, how tall the trees or grasses would be there. So there wild boars could come and reproduce. So that was the power of, this kind of regeneration that happens. So that is one. And second, it is not just regeneration the ecological ecosystem, but it is also having the impact on the farmer livelihoods. Because India is an agrarian economy and we cannot really leave out the purview and the interest of farmers in a long run. And most of them, especially in central India, in Orissa and in some parts of western India, in Gujarat, they are actually, despite having land, that land is of no good use to them because it is degraded. They cannot grow anything in that. So they are living in intergenerational poverty because of not being able to use that land for any good purpose. So Mission Prakriti aims to solve these problems by creating this as a model where they can actually regenerate ecological ecosystems where soil gets rejuvenated, the fertility of soil increases by 10 times in just 1 year. The groundwater table, that comes up. The air quality, if you put that as a carbon sink in a city, it acts like a carbon sink and the air quality index significantly improves. So there are multiple advantages of setting up these food forests, but that is on the, I would say, regeneration side of it. Now coming back to the solution that I was presenting some time back, like this bag, as you can see here, I was talking about the plastic packaging that we have. Yes. So this bag is actually a substitute for that plastic packaging. And what it is good with, it can actually do your normal blanket that you get from outside. So such material can be used. Because paper is not the solution. I must tell that people think plastic, if you leave, you can take paper. Paper is also equally harming the, if not equal, at least it is also harming the forest ecosystems. So we need to have a solution like this. It is a again, intelligent compounding has gone behind this in developing this material, which is biophilic. And if it goes into the soil, it will degenerate completely. And not just degenerate itself, but also enhance the fertility of soil. So that is a positive plus side of it. So that is one. And I was giving specific example of mulch sheets. Because I don't know, in Mysore also, I'm sure there is enormous focus on agriculture, and mulch sheets, plastic mulch sheets are across used left, right, center. People just don't have a sense that when it degenerates, it will actually make the soil toxic because that plastic will degenerate and become part of the soil, and then it will go into the food that is grown and go into your biome. So that effect of microplastics is not realized. So we really need to change that in the interest. So anyone here in the audience, if you are working with the government or have any kind of connect with the farmers, this is a huge appeal that we should actually transform the way we use mulching for our farms and lands.
And any message for the youngsters in the audience?
Sorry?
Message for the youngsters in the audience?
Absolutely. I am so, because we run in our Gayatri Chauhan Foundation, we have 3 core pillars. One is innovation, second is regeneration, and third is youth. So I am having a special connection with the youth of our country, and I feel so proud to know that we are the youngest country in the world. And I see so much of hope in all of you. When you come and listen to these things, it is not just about getting to know what Steer has done or what Gayatri has done or what Srikanth has done. It is not limited to that. It is basically to inspire you to see problems around you and come up with, imagine, endlessly imagine. Don't get your imagination limited. Anything is possible, and try to create solutions that are good for the planet and humanity. So have that moral, ethical compass. So just going and saying that, okay, if Earth is not habitable, we will go and settle in Mars. We don't want thinking of that kind. You have to make your own home beautiful first. So for that, whatever it takes, really give it your best and create solutions in home.
Thank you, Gayatri. That's inspiring. And Srikanth, you're here, you have your colleagues in the audience, both from the industry as well as from academia. So what is your view of how industry and academia should come together to foster innovation, sustainability, inclusivity? What is your associated advice to the youngsters in the audience?
Absolutely. I think it is super important that industry and academia work together. their strengths are different. Academia can go deep in research. It can provide really smart talent, inexpensive talent in some sense. Whereas industry understands the customer, understands productization, is able to bring high quality resources to ensure that the project actually sees the light of day. Often in India, what I'm saying, okay, is youngsters want to come and do an internship, and it is like twisting the arm of industry, please take some of our interns, okay? It needs to be symbiotic, okay? It can't be one way where industry is seen as doing favors to help youngsters come up. For that to happen, a couple of things need to happen. One is the faculty within the colleges need to work with the students and work on the project together with the students. Students are young. They might not understand the needs of the market, the way a team works, and other things that the industry needs. Nor does the industry have time to say, okay, I'll put my important project on the back burner and work with students all the time. We all know this problem, having been in industry. So to me, we have to make it more symbiotic. The faculty from the academia need to play a more important role in sort of leading their group of students, and because they understand a little bit more the industry's requirements and work together, right? So that's one thing I would say. At the same time, industry needs to also take a proactive approach, because it's not magically going to change, okay? In Silicon Valley, I was working with Stanford and Berkeley, UC Berkeley. When we built our first Spark chips at Sun, it came out of the work of Patterson and I forget the other professor, who were the Stanford and Berkeley professors. We worked closely with them on Spark architectures, okay, before we built our chips and so on. So very, very close involvement. It wasn't as though industry is only, oh, it's powerful, we have lots of money, we'll hand over some gifts for academia. Academia was absolutely essential in Silicon Valley flourishing. So to me, we have Bangalore, we have Mysore, all these hubs of fantastic colleges, as well as excellent industry that's doing so well. We have to work a little bit harder to make this more symbiotic. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and last word to the youngsters in the audience.
Oh, the youngsters. Okay, well, like I said, I'm from NIE. My teachers taught me really well. And huge respect for the way they taught us to dream and dream big, okay? And we went out and did our things, as you can see. I would say, number one, dream big, okay? You don't need secure jobs anymore in India, okay? Do your startup, okay? Apologies. But do your startups. Dream, think of the next innovation you want to solve, like amazing stuff that we're seeing here, right? Those come not in regimented modes where processes are well defined. Those come when you have an idea and you're ready to jump off at the deep end of the pool and say, I'll figure out how to swim, okay? So my advice to you is, and that's how all these projects like Aadhaar were done. Some idea came and we pursued it, and slowly we got the help of a lot of people who came along with us. So dream big, take risks, don't look for security at every step. When you're young, you can take enormous risks. When you get older, like me, well, I have to think about security and so on. You don't have to, okay? So that mental shift, and go out and change the world. Work on healthcare, solve cancer, make sure our government hospitals actually function for 60% of the population, ensure that we can build homes for everybody with new materials and new processes, build EVs so that our environment sustains the amount of cars that is coming in. 5,000 every day is being added in Bangalore alone. And all of these problems are important to solve. They're not solved yet. Our cities have to be more sustainable. Our agriculture has to be more productive, right? You guys can solve it, okay? So with that, I would say we look forward to what you guys can come up with. Thank you.
Thank you, Srikanth. Thank you, Gayatri. So the message clearly from both our speakers to be curious, be imaginative, dream big, and let's all together engineer the change, as we say in LTTS. Thank you. Let's open for questions if anyone has any.
That was a truly captivating and illuminating conversation. It's amazing how much we learned in such a short time. Smriti, I'm sure you agree.
Deepa, I couldn't have said it better myself. Those insights were truly profound. Thanks to all the panel members for the insightful discussion. Now we'd love to hear from our audience, and we request our volunteer to please hand over the mic to the ones who raised their hand.
Hello, question to Srikanth. We heard about you setting the context with the melting pot. I hope I'm audible, right? And the enormous computing that you have to achieve in the solution. And as you were unfolding the solution, I'm sure you had to go through acceptance and what has to happen through the ecosystem, various stakeholders. Just wanted to hear out, curious that did you feel sometimes that we'll give up for some of the constraints that you came across, and can you talk through that?
Absolutely not. I mean, you will be surprised. Well, maybe not surprised. We had a fantastic team from around the world that was working around the clock. And when I look back at that time, I mean, it was stressful from the point of view of how much work we put in. But I never look back, and none of us from the other team, we keep getting together. Nobody ever says it was so hard to do. Everybody says, oh my God, we achieved something and we're transforming people's lives. So to me, there was not a sense that, oh, you know what, this is too hard, India is too large, it's very hard to work with these people. There were challenges, okay? Let me not make it sound like this was a rosy picture and we all got along together as soon as we sat together. The sort of the cultures of government and private sector are obviously very different, right? The management practices are also quite different. The fact that, but I think the fact that we had come together as a melting pot, even within government they had chosen IAS, IPS, IFS and so on. They had broken down the norms, if you will, or the set stereotypes in each of those cadres, if you will. So there was always already a breaking down of structures which were sort of hardened in some sense. So also from the private sector, we had to also learn how the government works, maybe slightly differently, and adapt and ensure that we could do. So there were challenges. I wouldn't say this all happened magically, you know, you put everything and mix together, out comes beautiful. No, it wasn't like that. It was very challenging, especially the management styles, the way we approach problems, and so on and so forth was very, very different. We learned a lot from government folks. From the IAS officers, they have dealt with districts which are the size of small countries in Europe. They have dealt with millions of lives on a daily basis. We learned scale. We learned how do you deal with such enormous numbers of people as well as diversity. Of course, we were good at technology and innovation and coming up with solutions in the digital world and so on and so forth. But I think there was never a time when we felt, oh, you know what, this is too hard, or this process is so problematic, we can't. Never. Everybody pushed ahead. There were enough volunteers coming from every part of the world saying, can I be part of this project? Can you give me a role on this project? Can I make a difference in people's life? To unbundle and unlock that value was very important. Large credit goes to Nandan Nilekani, who was able to sort of bring people from different walks of life and sort of unlock that value of people who came from management, who came from engineering, who came from policy, who came from governance, who came from the government sectors and so on. He did a brilliant job in sort of putting all this together and making all of this work like a, 8-cylinder engine.
Yeah, next question, please.
Hello.
Please mention your name.
Yeah, this is Ravi here from Travancore Analytics. So my question is, first of all, thank you for the very insightful session from both of you. One, you talked about how the digital infrastructure can be used at scale to solve the complex problem of the nation. And also, ma'am, you talk about the sustainability. So now, I think both of the topics are very relevant considering the global trend. So we are talking about manufacturing at the scale, right? At the same time, we also need to ensure the sustainability at the scale. So what are your thoughts on how do we approach these two problems?
Sustainability and what else?
The manufacturing at the scale using the digital technologies.
Hi, hello. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ma'am.
1 second. Let them answer the previous question.
My question is
One
to
second,
you.
1 second, ma'am.
What, ma'am? Question. Okay. Answering the... I will asking to you, ma'am, asking the question.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Somebody has already asked the question and they are answering them.
Wait. Okay. Okay, I'm waiting.
Just answering the previous question that was raised before yours. So the question raised was, how do we do manufacturing and how do we tackle sustainability at scale? So first of all, it's a very good question and it's a complex answer. So it is not a kind of blueprint that is out there that can be followed. First and foremost, we have to understand that sustainability is all about interconnectedness of the ecosystem. So we cannot think about sustainability as a solution that can be fitted from outside. It has to be thought through right in the beginning. It has to be integrated in your overall approach, whether you're an organization or your life, your individual sustainability, if you want to just make your life more sustainable and more eco-friendly, then it has to be integrated very well throughout. And as an organization, if you want to integrate that, like I remember many of the builders have approached sustainability that way. They finish the project and then they think, okay, what can we do to get it green certification? So that kind of approach is not, and in fact there's a name for that, it's called greenwashing. So it is not at all encouraged. So this is high time we understand that sustainability has a value. It has an inherent value and it can be really harnessed if you get it into the core of your business, of your organization, of your individual life, in your innovation processes, like venture capital firms and all who are claiming to be impact capital firms. They may say that we focus on impact, but some of them just focus on the returns and then they may want to say, okay, impact is additional to what we get on returns. But then if you are truly a sustainable model, then actually you will be able to get value of returns on the monetary side exponentially higher if you are able to get that to the core business solution. So what I'm trying to say is that whether it is manufacturing or sustainability, taking it at scale requires a multifaceted approach. The first one is realizing the core value and integrating that to the core. And second is when it comes to building the ecosystem. So under the foundation, we also run a program called Accelerator for Climate Entrepreneurship, which is meant to create a large innovation ecosystem for the country, which connects our businesses, academic institutions, investors, and students and so on together. The idea is to create this kind of system where ideas can really scale quickly. Because what happens if it is happening at the individual business level, the outside investor or an outside person might think that it is having some inherent value for your business, maybe it is not for me. But when there is a collaborative ecosystem where things are not happening in individual silos, the overall impact is much greater and scaling it becomes much easier.
Can we have a question from a student, youngsters?
So I am Vivek Bharadwaj. My question to is Mr. Srikanth Nadhamuni. Sir, I wanted to ask you, is there possibility to map a death of a citizen to the Aadhaar card? I just will give you a small scenario so that you can relate it to it. So when you are burning a body, we will be presenting the Aadhaar card of the deceased person, and it would take another 20 days for the MCC to give the death certificate. In the meantime, if you can relate the death of a person in the Aadhaar card, that can also be used for multiple purposes, like for the banking systems or other systems.
Yeah. Well, I thought you were going to say you can toss the card also in the fire, but okay. It's important, the two things, birth and death registration are mandatory functions of the urban local body or the rural local body. Okay, the hospital has to do the issued birth certificate, and it has to inform the corporation, and the corporation keeps the record. That's why you go to, when you want a birth certificate, you go to MCC and so on. Now, firstly, in fact, the first document we wrote to the Prime Minister about Aadhaar, I still remember. In fact, I was in Mysore at Jalakshmipuram, drafted it. It had a diagram of birth certification at the hospital, linking to the Aadhaar automatically, issuing Aadhaars to infants, even though no biometric is collected, right? Why? Because that is the correct time to do it. When a baby is born, issue an Aadhaar, link it to the mother's Aadhaar, like a passport. Later on, when the child is 5 years old, take the biometric, and again at 15, because your fingers are becoming larger, your eyes are becoming larger, and so on, to solve some technical issues. But currently it's not 100%. First of all, birth certificate issuance is not 100%, let alone linking to Aadhaar. Okay? So we have a long way to go to ensure that this is smooth and every baby gets it, as opposed to later on. Okay, that means it has to be integrated into our cities and villages and ensure that the hospitals and clinics, they all know how to do this automatically and so on. It's doable. You can even do it on a mobile phone. It shouldn't be that hard. On the death side again, the reporting is even worse. Okay? At least if the baby is born, there's a whole life ahead, so please get the Aadhaar, otherwise there'll be problems later on. People will do it. Death, in many cases, they're like, okay, fine, okay, well, everything's over. Maybe they don't, okay, unless it's property and other things and so on. So, firstly, we have to both do birth registration and death registration and ensure it's updated in the Aadhaar, because it can also be misused. Okay, pension's coming, why stop pension? Okay, and so on. Okay, and we've seen all of these cases unfold. So it's important to make it happen. Exactly when you do it, whether you do it exactly when the body is burning in the pyre and so on, those can be worked out. But it has to, the point is important that it has to be updated correctly.
Can we have one last question, please?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Can I?
Asking me. Hello. Sir, Srikanth sir to you.
Oh yeah, please.
I am Aishwarya from Chamarajanagar Talakand district, Heggavadipura village.
Wonderful.
What is the concept of Make in India? Why did India country must and should Aadhaar affidavit of all the bankings? Did you know? Isn't it?
Sorry, say that again.
Make in India concept was made by Modi ji, isn't it? Make in India.
Make in India. Make in India. Yes.
M-A-K-A-I-N.
Yeah.
I-N-D-I-A. Make in India.
Yeah.
The concept is undertaking of Indian government.
Sure, correct.
Isn't it?
Correct.
Okay. Then I asking to you question. Everyone legally must and should undertaking of the Aadhaar affidavit to the government, Indian government, isn't it?
I don't understand.
Can
What
you
affidavit
please
to the Indian
keep
government?
your
If you
question
not
simple?
understand, sir, Aadhaar, A-A-D-H-A-R, Aadhaar.
Ma'am, can you please keep your question simple? We are running
Aadhaar,
short of time.
I got Aadhaar. Yeah, tell me. What about the affidavit?
Please understand, sir. A, big letter A, D-H-A-R, Aadhaar. Aadhaar, excuse.
Ma'am, time is running short.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am, you can contact him after the program. Thank you so much. Thank you all for your incredible questions and energy. Sadly, we have to bring things to a close, but what a fantastic session it's been. We kindly request our esteemed guests to remain on stage for a few more moments.
As we approach towards the end of this memorable session, we extend our sincere gratitude to each one of you for your enthusiastic engagement and for being such a fantastic audience. I now call upon Mr. Ravi Kumar, India and APAC HR Head of LTTS, to
Ladies and
deliver the
gentlemen,
vote of thanks.
can you all be
to
seated?
Please be seated and maintain silence. We are almost nearing the end of the event.
Now it's vote of thanks. Kindly be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, please be patient for 5 more minutes. We are about to wind up the program.
Check. Can I request Abhi and our speakers to please be seated for a few more minutes? Yeah, just please be seated for a few more minutes. We have one more line item to finish. Okay, good afternoon. I think the session was actually amazing. One thing I would like to take away from here from both the speakers is we need to dream. We need to dream big, and we need to make sure that we continue dreaming. And that's how we'll be able to do good for the country as well as for the place that we work. So with that being said, dear dignitaries, honored guests, young engineers, and everyone who have tuned in on for the live telecast, it's a privilege to have you here with us in Mysuru for third edition of Illuminate, a unique collaboration between the National Institute of Engineering NIE and L&T Technology Services LTTS. Today has been one of insightful discussions, inspiring conversations, and shared vision of how engineering and technology continue to shape our future. It's my honor to present the word of thanks to all who have helped make this event a resounding success. First, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. M.S. Ranganath, President of NIE Management Committee. Sir, your steadfast guidance and dedication have been instrumental in bringing this vision of industry-academia collaboration to life. Your leadership sets a high standard. We thank you for your unwavering support. I also wish to thank Dr. Rohini Nagapadma, Principal of NIE, Dr. K.C. Manjunath, Vice Principal of NIE, Dr. Likith Kumar, MV, Head IQAC at NIE, Dr. Y.M. Manjunath, Professor at NIE, Mr. Uday Shankar, SB, Honorable Secretary, NIE Management Committee, along with their dedicated team. Your efforts ensured the flawless execution of this event, and we deeply appreciate your commitment, and a huge appreciation to the NIE core team, Harshit Divakar, Dr. Deepa Gaikwad, for their invaluable efforts in bringing the third edition to life. A special acknowledgement goes to our own Shashidhar Dongre, Shashi, Center Head, L&T Technology Services, Mysore, for driving the program, and this being the third edition with a resounding success. Thank you, Abhi, for taking time from your busy schedule to moderate and engage the speakers. I would also like to call out the large LTTS team, Somsekhar Umadi, Rishikesh Rao, Dr. B.R. Chandrasekharaya, Ashwin, Sneha, Smriti from the HR team, and the rest of the HR team from the Mysore, marketing team, Ani and Aniruddha and Sheetal, admin, Raghu Deepak and his team, the IT team, and all others who worked tirelessly to make this event happen. I think we can be a little more generous in clapping. Our distinguished speakers today deserve a heartfelt applause. Mr. Srikanth Nadhamuni, founder, CTO of Aadhaar, has exemplified technology, innovation, combining experience from Silicon Valley with his work in AI and digital public infrastructure. Ms. Gayatri Chauhan, founder and CEO of BuzzOnEarth, has inspired us with her advocacy for sustainability and leadership together. Their insights have offered diverse perspectives, ranging from sustainability strategies to digital transformation, setting a vision for a better, brighter future. I would like to thank our partners and the technical teams who worked tirelessly behind the scenes. Your efforts ensured a seamless and successful event. To all our guests, we deeply value your active participation and hope today's discussions were enlightening as they were engaging. Illuminate continues to represent the power of shared knowledge, and we look forward to many more impactful endeavors together. Thank you for making Illuminate 2025 a remarkable success, and stay illuminated. Thank you once again. I would now request Abhi to hand over the mementos to speakers. And we can be generous in applauding, please.
Thank you, Ravi. It's been wonderful sharing this experience with all of you. We hope you are leaving today feeling inspired and connected. Thank you for your presence and support. From LTTS and NIE Mysuru, we wish you all the very best. Kindly collect the refreshments at the exit gate. On the way, the project demos are open. Kindly visit. Have a fantastic day.
This is Deepa and Smriti signing off. Namaste. I request the organizing committee from LTTS and NIE to assemble quickly on the dais for a group photo. Again, I repeat, I request the organizing committee from LTTS and NIE to assemble on the dais for a group photo.
Harshit and team.